Cue corny intro. Hello, my name's Harry Spinks and I'm a farrier based in Dorset, UK. We shoe a whole host of horses ranging from grassroots level all the way up to international horses. We go nationally and internationally to shoe. And we're bringing you a series of videos about how we deal with different horses in different situations and the daily lives of being a farrier in the UK and potentially abroad as well. So today we've got a series of infections to have a look at, and we'll be talking you through the different ways that we deal with that, and how you can spot them as an owner, and how it's imperative that they just get dealt with quickly and effectively to make sure that your horse is as sound as they can be. So if your horse had an infection, you would be essentially looking for a lameness. So if your horse goes lame, there's a digital pulse that you can feel, generally around the fetlock, and you'll also get, foot will probably be hot as well. And if you're hoof testing that foot, you'll find that that foot is potentially sore to touch, although some of them are really good at hiding it. In this case, he stood in a nail, so actually that was pretty obvious, I think. There was a nail sticking out of his foot, which is a whole different ballgame. But as a general rule of thumb, if they've got an infection, they'll have a hot foot, there'll be a digital pulse, they'll probably be sore somewhere on it. And then when the farrier, or technically the vet, I'd like to point out at this moment in time, it's technically the vet's responsibility. But when somebody comes out to do some emergency first aid on it, they'll get some hoof testers and run it round, and then you'll be able to tell whether or not that horse is sore in a specific area. And if it is, that's where a wet poultice comes in. And you can poultice that foot. Stood in a nail on this outside heel quarter, and you can see where the remnants of that is there. You can see this line, the orange line here is where that infection has come out over the course of time, and you can see where it's popped out of the back as well, and also in the original hole. So all that we're doing now is just cleaning it up and making sure it's all nice and tidy and there's no flaps of skin, so that you don't harbour any bacteria or anything under there. It'll be fine on it. It's just making sure that, as I said, you remove any loose flaps of skin so that you don't get any bacterial invasion under there. Hey, mate. Good kid. I know. You've had a little puncture wound in there, haven't you? I'm not going to dig it out. You can see just there he's just a bit flexy. I'm just going to protect it with the shoe. You see that little black dot there? Something's gone in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the shoe on top. I'm going to let the owner know that obviously we've had a bit of a puncture wound in there. He's flinching a little bit to it. So I'm just trying to check for a digital pulse at the moment. He's a little bit sore. He's also sometimes a bit of an idiot. Yep. Cool, thanks. No, there's no pulse there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the shoe over the top and then fill the gap with the shoe with the product called Hoof Stuff, which will just stay in there for a little bit and just protect that area. And then if it gets any worse, we'll make sure that the owner knows about it so that they can poultice over the top if needs be. But it looks like it's pretty much healed up. It's just a bit spongy from where it was there. It was either a puncture wound or maybe an abscess popping out. But nothing that I'm too worried about at the moment. Right. Just going to take that inside off a bit. It's a bit too close to that frog. But as you can see, the outside's nicely covered, and because he's a little bit narrow on this hind foot as well, It just gives him a little bit more support to it. So this horse had the vet out at the weekend as for a lameness. There was swelling in the leg and the foot was hot. So it's been poulticed for the last few days. We're obviously due to be shot anyway. And we're just here to have a look and see if we can find anything really. First thing I'm going to do is check for a pulse. No, it's not really a digital pulse. Check for heat in the foot, so I'm going to use the back of my hand because the front of your hand is hot anyway. There is a slight heat difference, but then that foot has been under a poultice for the last few days, so there's always going to be a slight heat difference there. And now we're going to just give that foot a bit of a prep and trim, and then we're going to hoof test it at the same time. There's a few things that are going on with this hoof as well. She'd had a keratoma surgery on the other foot a couple of years ago, and she grows high outside, low inside because of the conformation of the limb. And that's on both feet, and it's worse on the keratoma foot, which is the other foot. So I'm just giving her a light trim. You can see all this black gunk in there, and that's from the fact that she's had a wet poultice in there for the last few days, and it's just a bit of gunk coming out. It's nothing to worry about at the moment. What you find when you poultice a horse is that you'll always get stuff in the clefts of your frog. That's the part, the frog's, part of the purpose of the frog is to expel dirt out the back of the hoof. So I'm just going around now and testing to see if we have any sore spots there, which doesn't look like we do. I'm going to give her a trim up, and we'll go about the process of normally shoeing her, and then we'll reassess her as we're going to see if she gets any sorer as we go. From what I've seen so far, I don't think there's an abscess in there, but there might be. Some horses are really stoic, and yeah, pretty hardcore, to be honest. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking this outside down first, and then I'm just going to take this inside down a little bit, because we're compensating for the fact that she does grow so much outside foot. As I said, it's because of the conformation of her limb. And then what we're going to do is with our shoe, and shoe her with a pad and some packing, some dent impression packing underneath there, which is a bouncy packing. Which again just takes that, which takes that concussional aspect out, through the jarring through the limb, and allows that foot to function a bit better and a bit more normally. Take that outside down a little bit more. A farrier called Jim Ferry coined the term the spiral trim, spiral shoe, and that's pretty much what we're doing with her today. Is we're just making sure that that outside, as she grows, it will tilt over time. So we're just making sure that the outside of this foot is as low as we can get it, and the inside of this heel is as high as we can leave it. And then we'll change the shoe as well a little bit and do something very similar on there, especially on the other side where she's got a slightly worse conformation. And that will just allows her to balance out. You can see here this whole foot rotates inwards. Just flips like that. So these shoes will be going back on today. We'll probably lower this outside a little bit more. But that extra width on this inside just gives support to the limb. If it was on the outside, we'd give her a lot more. But because it's on the inside, there's a high chance that she'll tread on it and pull it off. So we don't want that. This is the foot that had a keratoma a few years ago. You can see where that's growing out. It will permanently be like that now, but it's just keeping it nice and clean and together. Because she's got pad and packing on, we don't want her to be sole bound, so just making sure you take out an appropriate amount of sole, because none of that will exfoliate throughout the shoeing cycle. You see this whole foot's rotated from there. It just flips up on its edge. Again, by trimming that outside down first, I'm just allowing myself to see what I've got to play with. And then I'm just taking out any loose horn from here. Again, this is where the area where that keratoma was. So keratoma is a benign tumour that forms in the hoof. And we're just going to pack this, again, with some hoof stuff, just to keep it intact. We could pull all that way away again, but it's not needed to. We want to keep the integrity of that hoof in check now, because otherwise we'll be just forever cutting this hoof away. Good girl. Just going to take this inside down a little bit. But the more I take off this inside as well, the more upright it will become. So it's that fine line. I do want to get my heels back to where I want them and where they should be to allow this hoof to grow properly, and then we can just put a shoe there to compensate for everything else. And again, the pad just protects that foot and it allows it to function properly. Good girl. Good girlie. When you're burning on, you don't need to have a mega burn. You don't need to get flames and smoke, or too much smoke. It's just to see where your marking is. Good girl. This is dental impression material. It's very bouncy. And it basically adds an extra layer to the foot. You can use it without a pad and just put some mesh in there, but it does wear away quite quickly, which is why we put it underneath the pad. Let's fill that hole with some hoof stuff. I'm going to give it a bit of a spray with some groom's hand, just antibacterial throughout the shoeing cycle. A lot of this will seep out. It's better to overfill it and allow it to seep out than to underfill it and need to put some more in. the pad is essentially for a bit of protection and to hold in the dental impression material. So, because of the way she is, I'm just going to let that load through now, just so that you can, so all of it seeks out, so we don't overfill that foot. Good girl. So yeah, the pad is essentially for protection, to protect the lower, well, to protect the solar surface of that foot, because she can get a bit footsore, especially over the stones. And then it also holds in that impression material, which gives her a bit more extra bounce, which she seems to like. It's like humans. Some humans like, you know, a bouncier footwear to others. Exactly the same with these guys. As you find, as horses get older, it's like your gran. They find that they need a bit more extra help and a bit more extra support sometimes. And we'll just tidy that up once it's clenched up. There you go. So with this foot, we haven't really got any extra to do to it. I've taken down that outside a little bit more, and we'll just nail it on as per normal. Now, and see how we get on over the next few days. We're standing on it fine, and there doesn't seem to be any reaction to hoof testers or anything like that. So if we find that she goes lame again, then that will be a different kettle of fish, and we'll be having a different discussion. But I imagine we'll be all right, and it was probably just a bit of a tweak, and she did something in the field. Good kid. What you find with this stuff is, as it gets hotter, it goes off a lot quicker. So in the winter it takes forever to go off, and in the summer it goes off like it's going out of fashion.